Thank you, everybody, for joining us back here at Willow Biosciences channel. We have a very special guest for you guys today as we sit here with the Vice President of Research and Development at Willow Biosciences, Dr. Trish Choudhary. Trish, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for coming on. And what I'm really curious about is your role. But before we dive into that, let me know a bit more about your past experience. What really makes you tick?
I've been in the field of synthetic biology for a very long time. I think if I think back 22, 23 years, my first job at Maxigen. I had the opportunity to work with a gentleman by the name of William Stemmer. Um, and he was affectionately at that time referred to as the father of directed evolution. So working in his team, I was able to develop or work on this technology called DNA shuffling, which was completely fascinating to me. We were able to take a gene sequence basically and digest it down into tiny pieces and then recreate, all sorts of diverse versions of that gene sequence. And looking back now, that was probably one of the very early examples of how you can use genetic engineering to engineer enzymes. So I think that's really where my passion for synthetic biology kind of grew. After Maxigen, I took a break. I'm actually from New Zealand, so I went back home to New Zealand to pursue my PhD. Again, I stayed in the field of enzyme engineering, but I was working on developing xylenases as biobleaching agents for the pulp and paper industry. And then when I came back to the US, I joined my former colleagues who were now part of Codexis. So while I was away doing my PhD, Maxigen had actually spun out their chemical business, really focused on developing and commercializing industrial enzymes.
Mhm.
So at Codexis, I led a number of technical projects ranging from biofuels. I think everybody in this industry has worked on biofuels at some point, carbon capture, and I was also involved in really developing some of the fundamental tools, the high throughput genetic tools for enzyme engineering that are still used today. So after Codexis, I switched gears a little bit and I founded a small company by the name of ESEP Technologies,
Mhm.
where I had the chance to work with a number of very experienced chemists and electrical engineers to develop a chemical-free ion exchange system. So the application there was to basically be able to extract high-value functional ingredients like whey proteins and lactose from dairy streams. So I guess that brings us to 2019, when I decided to kind of return to my synthetic biology roots, and I joined Willow Biosciences, and I've been with the company ever since.
Interesting. So you've been in this industry for quite a while, and I'm kind of curious about how has it changed over the course of the years?
So I think just the speed, cost of technology, being able to synthesize, read, write, edit DNA. I think those three have been huge game changers, I think, for synthetic biology. So the cost of synthesizing DNA, the cost of reading or sequencing DNA, and now with gene editing technologies like CRISPR have really enabled scientists like myself to pretty much do anything, produce anything through precision fermentation. So back then we were very limited with what we could do. We were still able to do, enzyme and strain engineering and produce great things. But now, if you look across the whole industry, anything from bioplastics to foods to um, textiles, you can pretty much apply this technology right across the board, and pretty much do anything with biology, which is just mind blowing.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like things happen in individual breakthroughs that kind of like accelerate things massively when it comes to technologies like this. Okay, so now kind of let's turn the story back to Willow Biosciences. So you've been there for almost 4 years now. Talk to me about your experience there so far and kind of what you handle on the day to day.
So, when I joined Willow, we were a very, very tiny team. Chris and I, who I think you spoke to previously in an interview, our COO, we were the employee number 1 and 2 here in Mountain View. So we were really tasked with building that whole team out, building out our labs, and really establishing a technology platform to be able to produce our first molecule, which was a class of molecules, which was cannabinoids. So in the early days, I'm a molecular biologist, so I was heavily involved in actually working at the lab and building out some of those strains. But as the years have progressed, my roles kind of changed, and I really see two sides to my role now as the vice president of
Mhm.
R&D. So on one side, I'm part of the management team that is responsible for setting our corporate strategy, really setting those high-level business objectives based on what we want to develop in-house internally, our internal programs as well as our external partnered programs. And then on the other side, really taking those high level business objectives and breaking them down into specific tasks and priorities so that our R&D team are very clear on how to execute and how to deliver results. That being said, we have an incredibly talented team. We have strain engineers, analytical chemists, computational biologists, and fermentation scientists. So being from New Zealand, sometimes I kind of just refer to myself as a glorified sheep herder. So these are people that come from all different walks of life, different disciplines. So really making sure all of those competency groups are moving in the right direction with their respective roles, responsibilities, and perspectives. And, really aligned and laser focused on delivering on our commercial goals.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like at this point you're definitely in a strong leadership position, and I'm kind of curious from there. So looking back, how would you say, if you could put it in a nutshell, how was 2022 for you guys? And then looking at 2023, what are you most excited about getting into?
Yeah, so 2022 had a lot of operational, I'm not going to say challenges, but changes for the company. We made the decision quite early on to expand our portfolio beyond cannabinoids. And kind of now in hindsight, that was a fairly seamless transition for us, just in the way that we had built our team and our platform. So to be able to onboard new programs and put them through the same strain engineering and fermentation process development platform was a fairly seamless transition, and the team were able to really get behind the new projects and deliver.
Mhm.
So I think technically we ended the year very, very strong in terms of 2022. We've hit all of our deliverables, so really, really proud of the team. We also had an operational change in that we consolidated our whole R&D team here under one roof in Mountain View. So we moved equipment and we moved our key personnel from Burnaby,
Mhm.
Canada, down here, and that was a little challenging, a lot of work, but we're already seeing the results of that. The team are super productive, super excited about where we've ended up in 2022. 2023, without jinxing anything, looks fairly bright from where I sit.
Mhm.
Like I said, we ended 2022 very strong from a technical and an operations standpoint. So we've really set ourselves up to kick the year off fairly strongly. We hope to continue our partner projects, continue developing our internal programs, and also bring on a couple of extra programs. So a lot of work to do, but it's exciting at the same time.
Yeah, definitely sound like there's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipe. But Trish, thank you so much for coming on and introducing yourself and sharing your insight into Willow Biosciences. If anybody has any questions, don't be afraid to send them over. For now, Trish, again, thank you, and please have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Mike.